What can you tell us about what occurred?
It's about 2:20 this afternoon. Nelson County Dispatch received a call that the remainder of the warehouse that had collapsed a couple weeks ago had collapsed. No one was hurt. In that instance, or the one 2 weeks ago, about 2:25, the first Barton fire units responded on scene, and the second half of that building is on the ground. The EPA and Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife have both been called in to assess the hazards. They'll be checking that. Barton, Brands, and Sazerac has cleanup crew on site. They've been on site for about 10 days since the last collapse. They've been working on that, and they've called in additional resources now to deal with that. And again, no one was hurt, and we do have crews on the site this time.
So because Sazerac crews were there 2 weeks ago, that's why they're still on scene now?
Right, their cleanup crews have been on scene for about 10 days, assessing and working on the situation, and now they have called in additional resources to help with the situation.
Any concern that more bourbon could be getting into the groundwater and cause any issues with the fish?
Of course, there's always going to be that concern, and I guess that's why the EPA and Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife have both been called into the scene to assess the situation and any hazards and dangers, and to go ahead and get ahead of that.
Was this expected to occur, knowing that the other half was, that the building was obviously unstable to begin with?
I'm not sure it was expected. I haven't heard from the company officials, but I'm not sure if they were expecting it. But I know I certainly wasn't.
Do you know if was there any bourbon barrels still in there? Or
I believe there were. Yes, there were still barrels in the warehouse. I'm not sure. I believe maybe about 9,000. The remainder that was in there. I'm not sure if they were all bourbon or not, but there were.
But they were still in there when it collapsed.
Yes.
I don't know if you can necessarily speak for the fire department, but obviously it is super hot outside, and now you've got crews that are having to remain outside for, I'm assuming, several hours. Can you talk about just how crews are staying safe as they're kind of investigating this building collapse?
They're on the scene right now to just make sure that nothing else happens. Of course, there's always other dangers when you deal with the liquids like that. So they're on scene to make sure there's no other hazards that may pop up. Of course, they're staying in the shade and staying hydrated, so they're kind of trying to take care of themselves. But they are on the scene at this time, just trying to make sure nothing else happens there.
Why were they not able to remove the other bourbon barrels following their first collapse, or what was the situation with that?
That I'm not sure. That's what's going to be answered by Barton and Sazerac crews, and they'll have more information about what they did after the first collapse and what they could and could not do, and so forth.
Has there been any sort of, has Nelson County Emergency Management, anyone from any of their agencies, been on the grounds since the initial incident to before the call was in today, like monitoring it or anything like that?
Our emergency services know we're not on the scene monitoring. I think Barton Fire had checked in maybe a time or two just to see how things are going. Again, Barton had their crews on scene. I believe they've also had engineers on scene as well, trying to assess what they could do with the building and how to best reinforce the structure.
Now, obviously, this was something that you could have planned that might happen. Do you know if the company or anyone had done anything to sort of mitigate any sort of pollution that might happen if this happens, such as working to reinforce berms or raise berms?
I've been told there were some berms put into place to try to help contain any spills. The company can speak more to that tone, but I have been told there have been some berms put in place.
What sort of resources are there right now? Are there fire, police there, or is it mostly just this cleanup crew that was already there? We have
Barton Fire, Nelson County Fire and Rescue, Nelson County Emergency Management are all on scene, as well as the cleanup crew and company officials are there as well. Again, EPA and Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife are also responding.
How late do you expect the emergency responders to still be there? I mean, are they going to be there throughout the night? Or are they going to be monitored? Like, how does this all work?
They will be on scene as long as there's a hazard. How long that'll be, I'm not sure, but they'll remain on scene until we're confident that the future hazards are still existing.
And I know no one was hurt, but has that building kind of been avoided other than the crews that are doing their checkups? Has no one really been in it since the original collapse?
I don't know if anyone's been in it. I believe they have been keeping an eye on it. I believe they did have a guard on staff that kind of kept an eye on it. I believe that's where the call came this afternoon.
Well, thank goodness he wasn't inside at the time.
Right, he was at a safe distance away from that building.
Do you think it's fortunate knowing, all the weight of these barrels and the danger that could have been that everybody's okay throughout both of these incidents.
Absolutely, and that was on the first collapse. That was a concern. Safety there, as you try to remove anything from what was remaining or from the pile of barrels, there was a safety concern of anyone who may be in that area.
Okay, that's about it.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.